Okay, let's jump right in. A billion robots in space. It sounds like something straight out of science fiction, doesn't it? But what if I told you it's not really a question of if, but when? We're going to break down the incredible forces that are pushing us right now toward that exact future. But first things first. Before we get to a billion, we need to know where we're starting from. So how many active, working robots, satellites, rovers, probes, do we actually have up there right now? Take a guess.
The answer? It's around 10,000. Now, that's a huge number compared to the early days of spaceflight, for sure. But compared to a billion, it's a drop in the ocean. The gap we have to close is just massive.
So that's the real puzzle, isn't it? How on earth do you get from a few thousand to 1 billion? This isn't just about launching a few more rockets a year. This is going to take a fundamental, almost unbelievable shift in how we get to and operate in space. Because what's coming isn't some slow, gradual increase. We're talking about a swarm, a literal explosion in the number of robots, all driven by the massive ambitions of companies like SpaceX and Amazon, not to mention China's national program. They're all in a race to fill the sky. So, how is this even possible? Well, the secret is all about cracking the code of the rocket equation. Not the physics of it, that's set in stone, but the economics. We are finally breaking the financial chains that kept space expensive and exclusive for decades. And check this out. This is the key. Back in the space shuttle days, sending just 1 kilogram, about the weight of a pineapple, to orbit cost about $20,000. Now, SpaceX is aiming to get that cost down to around $100 with Starship. That's not just an improvement. It's a complete revolution. It's like the Ford Model T of space travel. It makes getting to orbit affordable. And you can see the results of that right here. It's not just cheaper, it's so much faster. I mean, we went from launching a couple hundred satellites a year in 2013 to almost 2,500 in 2022. And by the 2030s, we're on a path to have over 50,000 active satellites. The pace is just accelerating like crazy.
But look, cheap and frequent launches are just the how. To really understand the push to a billion, we need to get into the why. What are the deep human motivations that are powerful enough to make this happen? We've boiled it down to 4 main cosmic drivers pushing us out there.
And the first driver is the purest one of all. Good old-fashioned curiosity. It's that deep, innate part of us that always wants to see what's over the next hill, or in this case, the next planet. Our robots are basically our robotic avatars out there in the cosmos. They are our eyes and hands on Mars with rovers like Perseverance. They're our window into the secrets of the universe with telescopes like Hubble. And they're our scouts, searching for signs of life on icy moons like Europa. And the funny thing is, every question they answer for us just makes us ask a dozen more. All right, on to the second driver. And this one might just be the most powerful engine for change there is: greed. Or, if we're being polite, let's call it economic self-interest. There is a new cosmic gold rush happening right over our heads. Think about it. Companies are pouring billions into building global internet networks like Starlink because the potential payoff is in the trillions. And that's just for starters. You've got the incredible prospect of mining asteroids for precious metals, or creating brand new industries like manufacturing things in zero gravity. It's fueling this fierce commercial race to industrialize space. Now for our third driver, which is a bit darker but no less powerful: fear. This is all about national security, planetary defense, and that primal instinct we all have for survival. Rivalries between nations are pushing them to launch more spy and military satellites. The very real threat of an asteroid hitting us led to missions like DART, which was basically a robotic bodyguard for planet Earth. And then there's the ultimate fear, that a disaster here could wipe us out. That's a huge reason for becoming a multiplanetary species, with robots leading the charge. So, curiosity, greed, and fear. Those can get us to tens of thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands of robots. But to get to a billion, for that, you need the fourth driver. And this one is a bit of a mind-bender. It's the one that unlocks truly exponential growth: replication. This is the ultimate game changer. Just imagine robots on the moon using lunar dust to 3D print copies of themselves. That's the core idea behind something called von Neumann probes, machines designed to self-replicate. Once our tech can do that, the number of robots is no longer limited by what we can launch from Earth. Their population could explode, spreading across the solar system almost like a life form. That is how you get to a billion.
So what happens when all of these drivers create this massive robot population? Well, we're not just launching machines anymore. We are building an entirely new ecosystem in space. And it's one that is filled with incredible opportunities, but also some really, really serious dangers. And this brings us to a huge problem. Our working robots are already completely outnumbered by our own trash. We're tracking over 36,000 pieces of junk bigger than a softball. But there are an estimated 130 million tiny fragments up there, each one flying around like a tiny hypervelocity bullet, threatening every single thing in orbit.
This creates the absolute nightmare scenario that scientists call the Kessler syndrome. Basically, it's a chain reaction. One collision creates a cloud of debris. That debris then causes more collisions, which creates even more debris, and so on until entire orbits become totally unusable. If we're not super careful, we could trap ourselves on Earth, surrounded by a deadly minefield of our own making.
But the motivation to solve these problems is just immense. The space economy is projected to be worth $1.8 trillion by 2035. That economic pull is just too powerful to ignore. We have to figure out how to manage the risks, because the rewards are, well, astronomical. And it's that incredible momentum that leads us to one last, really big question. As we build this huge, off-world technosphere of a billion intelligent and maybe one day self-replicating machines, we have to ask ourselves something fundamental. Are we just building a really advanced set of tools to help out humanity? Or are we, whether we mean to or not, building the next stage of evolution, a new kind of non-biological life that's destined to inherit the cosmos? The answer to that is going to define everything.